Well, as you just heard, it's 1-1 with 3 to play. India this time, the winning of the toss going their way, and like England in the first T20 in Ahmedabad, deciding to bowl first and bat second. As Goffey just said, 10 out of 10 from England in the first T20, 9 out of 10 from India in the second, chasing down a target of 165 and doing so within 18 overs. England didn't help themselves, putting down both the captain, Virat Kohli, and also Ishan Kishan when he was on 40. As bad a drop as you'll see from Ben Stokes. But even if those catches had gone to hand, I'd have to say India probably still favourites to chase down the total. So we will dissect, we will ruminate, we will discuss where it went wrong for England and where it went right for India. You're listening to Following On TalkSport 2. Well, Steve Harmison, Darren Goff and Gareth Batty with me, and we may veer off and take in a little audio post-match as the game goes on, but as good as England were in the first T20, Goffey, India fantastic in the second, and credit really where credit's due.
No, absolutely, India were magnificent. I said in the first T20, I think England, it was a 10 out of 10 performance, and I want to give India 9 for that one. I still think they can be better in the field and better with a ball, but with a bat, definitely. They were absolutely outstanding. Ishan Kishan on debut was absolutely superb, but the main man for me, as always, Virat Kohli. Whenever he's chasing any sort of total, he wants to be there from start to finish. Absolutely superb player. And he was 70, he got 73 not out. Absolutely terrific not.
Do you know what his average didn't go down because he was not out, but you know that he averages 80 when chasing. What a performer he is. So didn't quite hit his average, but of course his average will go up a little. And also the first batsman to score 3,000 runs in international T20s, and he did it with a 6.
Well, we do expect it, wouldn't you? I mean, England finished it with a 6, by the way, in the first T20. Milan hit it straight down the ground for a 6, and Virat Kohli finished it with a 6 now. But also, I mean, like I say, the guy on debut was absolutely superb. But again, Rishabh Pant showed, but they're flexible as well in the batting line. He come in with a free rein, didn't he? They sent him in just to hit. And he came in and he played a lovely little innings, 26 off just 13 deliveries. That totally took the game away from England. But England were disappointing with the ball. I thought, like I said, Chris Jordan makes me nervous when he bowls early on in an innings. I thought he could have gone to Tom Curran probably before that and gone for Rashid a little bit earlier. But listen, it's expected. India are a great team, but India, we know they've got some fantastic individual cricketers, and they turned up today, India. As I said, they need to improve with the ball a little bit to be at their real best, but with a bat, they were excellent today. Let's
talk a little bit about Ishan Kishan. I tell you what, if you're not unfamiliar with the guy, it's pretty easy to remember his name. His first name and surname are almost identical. But if you don't follow the IPL, it may have been the first time you've seen him play. And a lot is said about the IPL and the way that it improves players. We made mention of it before the match, but certainly from an Indian perspective, you know, this is a guy, he's 22 years of age. He's been playing professional cricket for 7 years. He made his debut at age 15. He's already won 3 IPL titles with Mumbai. And I suppose when you come to the crease playing in your first match for India, unlike you guys, I mean, I want to get your thoughts. I mean, when you first played for England, the difference, I imagine, apart from the fact that the TV cameras are there, this guy's walking out in front of 70,000. Well, you know what? He's done that before. He's been doing that for 5 years. And it must pay a huge difference. Makes a huge difference for his confidence. And the fact that he's just come off an IPL where he's averaged 57 in 13 innings. So he's already almost a complete player.
Yeah, he's just continuing on from the IPL, playing in front of a big crowd, pressure situation. And it helps having one of the greatest players of all time standing 22 yards away from you. When you go down to touch gloves every over with Virat Kohli, it must be a dream to go out there and bat. Virat never really got out second gear until the end there. And the way Kishan batted, very, very similar to Quentin de Kock, somebody who he's probably learned a lot of. You know, Mumbai have won 5 out of the last 6 IPLs. You've got Rohit Sharma Quentin de Kock and Ishan Kishan going in at 1-2-3. Now, they're very, very similar with outlook of look and how to play. Rohit Sharma obviously right-handed, the other two left-handed, but all three of them look to hit boundaries. All three look to keep the scoreboard moving. And he's come in and just all he's done is just change the light colour blue shirt for a dark one, and he's been fantastic. He got dropped when he was 40, but I don't think that really mattered in the context. I think Kohli's did. I think if England catch Kohli on 10, I think that changes the context a little bit of the game. But hey, fair play. If that's what you get in first game with Rohit Sharma to come back in, England bowlers will be thinking, what about their plans for the next game on Tuesday night?
Yeah, and you can add Kyron Pollard and Hardik Pandya to that 5 and 6 for Mumbai Indians.
That's why they keep winning it.
Absolutely. Let's look at England's innings, though, because there were scores there. Milan 24, Roy 46, Bairstow, Morgan and Stokes, all made 20s. But there was a feeling, Gareth Batty, there was a little bit of huff and puff about it, wasn't there? None of the batsmen, and I include Jason Roy in that, really looked like they were as comfortable with the conditions as India seemed to be when they were batting.
Yeah, I think you just look at partnerships. The second wicket partnership in both teams. England's second wicket partnership was only 63, and it could have extended and probably should have on reflection. Whereas India's second wicket partnership, 93, is just a significant difference. 30 runs on a smallish total of 164 is actually a massive swing. It's a huge swing, and it allows India to play within themselves, or it allows some wonderfully young, gifted players to come out and play with an absolute freedom because they've got the captain, the absolute rock, who they know is going to bat through the innings.
I'll tell you what, we're of course reporting and commentating here from the banks of the Thames rather than in Ahmedabad. The TV has just flashed up a screenshot of the top 10 leading run scorers in the world in terms of international T20, and talk about Virat Kohli and the rest. I made mention of the fact he went past 3,000 runs with a 6, first to do so. He averages over 50. There isn't another batsman on that list who averages more than 33, I think. It's just disappeared from view. But he is quite something. Let's continue talking about England, though, because we did ask the question whether they could follow up a near-on perfect performance from the first T20. They didn't, but how big a deal was losing the toss? And are we just going to see a continuation of a theme here, because all 5 matches start at the same time, all 5 matches are in the same stadium? Is it a case of win the toss and bowl first? Is that how we're going to see things, you think?
Well, it looks like it, doesn't it? I think both captains again wanted to bowl first, especially until you win the series. Then you might want to switch it around a bit and try a different way. But we've seen now it's very difficult to set a target. It seems very difficult when you first go in. When you start the game, it's a little bit too paced, but as the day goes on and it turns into night and the dew comes out, it skids onto the bat. And we thought that were about par score, didn't we? 164. But the way India batted, they could have got another 20, another 25 there. So what is par? We've no idea. So whoever bats first has somehow got to try and get to 180 with the looks of it, because batting second is comfortable.
Yeah, it looks to be like both teams have just gone a bit early in that first innings. They've tried to almost run before you can walk. It's kind of like get yourself to 100 for 2-ish and then try and have a massive last sort of 4-5 overs to really cash in to get up to that 180 plus, which then at 180, both games totally different. And the batting side, it's not as easy, but 160 and less, these guys are chasing 7.5 and over in the sleep nowadays.
And a lot of it talks about matchups, and it's easier to do your matchups when you're batting second and you know what's going on. I'd be very surprised if India take the same risks against Stokes, Tom Curran and Jordan win the bowl first because of not knowing what the game situation is. But when you know you've just got to chase 165, which what I still think was a par score, we couldn't get obviously Virat Kohli, one of the best players in the world, out. Sometimes their matchups, they are clarity of thought and you know what you've got to get. It is a little bit easier, and I just think England struggled with the ball in the middle, the batting. Nobody really went on to get a big score. And again, I think England will have to think about this bowling lineup in the middle period, because when it comes to, I'm not saying it's toothless, but trying to get a wicket in that middle period, I still think Curran and Jordan are very, very similar. They're very good at the end, but they're just not sure how to bowl their first 2 overs of the 4.
So that's why Wood was a big loss tonight on that pitch. He was skidded on. He would have bowled it. If he bowled like he did the other night at 92 miles per hour plus, it gives you a little bit of a wicket-taking bowler in the middle. And that's one thing England have all been striving for in teams I've played in teams you've played in, Army. We've always been looking for someone in that middle who's a little bit different, who can bowl really quickly and knock over a batsman who's in.
But it just shows you, chasing, when you know what you're chasing and you've got clarity of that is the total, it's so much easier, especially the way the modern player thinks and the modern player plays. The way Shirish Iyer played the other night, batting first, yes, he had to hold himself in and hold himself back because he was getting his team back into the game. You look at the way the two young kids have gone and played there. Rishi Pant and Kishan. Well, it's Kishan's 22-year-old, Rishi Pant 23-year-old. They've just seen the scoreboard. We need 164. Let's get them as quickly as we can, and basically carefree. Because we've got the best player in the world at the other end who doesn't look as though he's got out of second gear yet.
They're chasing them totals for fun in the IPL, aren't they? I mean, if you don't get 200 in a lot of the IPL games, you're losing the game.
Is that a fundamental flaw with the format of the game then? And I don't want us to be, after seeing England win, wax lyrical about England, and then when England lose, say, hey, it's T20's fault. But we do see it in the IPL as well, don't we? It's heavily, and actually Owen Morgan mentioned it at the start, statistically batting second is way 80%. More beneficial than batting first.
So that's where, if you want to be the best team in the world, you've got to work out a way of being able to bat first, which is what Coley said on interview. Yeah, but Coley said on interview, if we want to win the World Cup, we've got to be able to bat first and still win. And I think that is both teams have to learn from those performances. This isn't a question of India are the better team now. They're both pretty equally matched. They're both two wonderful teams. We're going to see some amazing cricket in the next 3 games. But it's the team that can adapt to get a score batting first. And by a score, we're talking about, assess the conditions quickly and have the strength of mind to be able to bat long enough without losing wickets to back that you're going to clean up at the back end to get that 180.
And on that, I think the team that wins by batting first will be the team that a player goes and gets 100. A team that goes and gets 100. A Roy gets off to a good start and you can't get him out. A Milan or a Bairstow getting in and going big. I think a team that gets, a player batting 3, 4, 5, getting 80 off 40 balls or 100 at the top of the order will be the team that wins from batting first.
But that's almost an old school way of looking at cricket, isn't it? That you. I tell you what.
Runs on the bird were valuable.
I tell you what. We'll talk about it in a second. Let's hear from the England captain Owen Morgan.
Get over the line. I thought India bowled well. The pitch was different again to what it was in the first game. There was probably less pace in it. But full credit to India in the way that they bowled and the way that they restricted us to that total. And then with the bowling, they came out and almost put us on the back foot from the start, and we didn't manage to counter that, which is disappointing. But I think one of the biggest things for us tonight is that we don't get the opportunity to play a lot on slow wickets where pace off the ball, for our batters and bowlers is challenging. So we want to play as much as we can in order to try and learn as much as we can from tonight and other experiences throughout this series. So I'm glad we've played on this wicket. Just a little bit disappointed the way that we played.
Hey, it's interesting because both these pitches not too far from one another, very similar in texture and look as well. The first day it was 124 and today 164, and the other day India struggled to post a total. Is it like win the toss, it's easier batting second?
I think statistically there's always an advantage in chasing, particularly if there's a bit of dew around. Tonight there was absolutely no dew around. Full credit to India the way that they played. I think one thing every team in the world has to get used to is posting totals. So identifying areas early on, particularly in those first 10 overs, that you can counter the opposition's attack and hopefully post a winning, if not a par total.
Jason Roy once again brilliant at the top, but Joss Butler possibly missing out both these innings. What do you tell them when they come back in?
Not a lot. They're two aggressive guys who I want to be as aggressive as they can. Joss opening the batting for us strikes it at 150 and averages 50. So there's not a lot you can tell a guy who does that. It's continue to be himself, stick to his process, be as aggressive as he can. And it's great to see Jason Roy in form when he plays like that. He's very intimidating at the crease. He would have liked to kick on again today, but unfortunately it wasn't to be.
Mark Wood, he missed out today. Did you miss him on that surface?
I think when a guy bowls 95 mile an hour in the first game and he misses the second, you're always going to miss him, particularly in the first game when there was a bit of pace in the wicket. I think today was a different challenge. Woody feels better today, so hopefully he'll be fit for the next game, if not the fourth game.
Quick turnaround between these games. Possibly the next surface would be different. So before going into practice, do you figure out what's the kind of surface we're going to be playing on? Because the square has different types of surfaces here.
Yeah, here we won't be practicing. We were prepared coming into the series. We know what we're going to play against. The next game is on the red soil that looks like Ayers Rock, so it's probably going to turn. But again, these are the challenges that we want to play against. Regardless of how we do in the series, we want to learn as much as we can and get that experience under our belt for the World Cup.
Thanks for your time and commiserations today. Thanks Moggy. Thanks. Cheers.
I see England captain Owen Morgan speaking to Murali Kartik on the world feed. As we were making mention, I suppose, guys, if you're going to win batting first, you need big performances from your big players. I want to talk about Ben Stokes because obviously we've seen the very best of Stokes as a test player. Headingley 2019, Cape Town last year, we were commentating back in 2016 as well. We've seen it in 50 over cricket, the World Cup final and all that, but have we seen it in T20, and if not, why not?
Well, from somebody who knows Ben as well as I do not like Ben Stokes batting at 6. I think Ben Stokes has to give himself 3-4 balls to get himself going. So for me, and it's easy, and I hate it when England get beat, you hear the same old excuses, you start blaming orders, such and such will be playing, county cricket's this. But this is something I've always believed, that Ben Stokes really, not struggles, but to go from ball 1 at number 6, I think Ben Stokes needs to be a little bit higher up in the order from that. I think that doesn't help him. Didn't help him at Rajasthan a couple of years ago. That's why Rajasthan have gone the way they've gone for Morris, to get Ben Stokes potentially to bat at number 3. And it's just where Ben Stokes feels comfortable in fitting in. He's bowling. He's an expensive bowler, but he's a bowler that takes wickets. Just think Ben Stokes is still waiting for that light, that flicker moment to ignite his tour, because he was a little bit subdued during the test matches. We've seen glimpses of him in the last test match. We've seen glimpses of him in the bat in the first test match, and I think we're just seeing little bits of him in this series. I think he needs a bigger role, and I think if that bigger role is to bat a little bit higher, I think we might see a bit more Ben Stokes.
Well, from one of England's star men, we can hear from the undoubted star of the Indian lineup, the India captain Virat Kohli.
130 at 15, and to give away only 34 in the last 5, I think it was very smart bowling by all our bowlers. Special mention to Washi. He bowled to only one left-hander in the middle, and to all right-handers, used the big boundary really well, changed pace. But then Bhuvi, smart operator, Shardul bowled well at the end, Hardik chipped in with a few, Chahal was good today as well. And all in all, very, very happy with our bowling effort, and then, with the bat as well, convincing finish.
Did it get easier chasing or batting second?
It did. I won't, drift away from the fact that it did come onto the bat better. Precisely why we won the toss and bowled first, because we knew that little bit of dew. It was just enough for the wicket to get a little better, settle down a little bit more. The slower ball stopped gripping in the surface. Having said that, the ball probably a bit too short. On that surface, maybe that wasn't on. And special mention to, again, Ishan, the way he batted, changed the game completely. We're 1 down for nothing, and I tried to do what I can, but then he totally took the game away from the opposition, kept following his instinct, and quality innings on debut.
Yeah, on debut you mentioned, and you were quick to make those changes. Shikhar Dhawan and Ishan Kishan, and obviously Surya Kumar didn't get any chance today.
Well, let's just break away from the India captain. We do have the England captain, Owen Morgan, live on the show with us here on TalkSport 2. Owen, thanks for speaking to us. I suppose, disappointment really. The perfect game near on in the first T20, but slightly trickier today.
Yeah, definitely slightly trickier. I think conditions that we would have expected coming into the series were exactly how they were today. Areas of improvement for us, playing in challenging conditions and playing against a very, very good side in India. I have to give them full credit today. The way that they bowled, adapted to conditions on a slower wicket than we played on 2 days ago, probably suited our game plan and our skills more so than today. But we want to learn more in playing in these conditions. and do that as much as we can before the World Cup in 7 months' time.
Yeah, absolutely. The big question at this end is just how difficult is it to set a score when you're asked to bat first? Both yourself and Virat suggesting that it's beneficial statistically to bat second, being set the target. How do you go about setting the total in conditions that, as you say, are alien to the England team?
Yeah, here I think you have to use your experience, your nous, and take in all information that's actually going on in the game at the time. I think we have a pretty experienced side in order to do that. Obviously, being taken out of our comfort zone by playing in Indian conditions against one of the best sides in the world. But we need to get better at it. We can't just be a side, or India can't just be a side who chases all the time. Every side in the world needs to be able to set a score, be confident in doing that, and back your bowlers to defend it.
Owen, it's Goffey here, mate. Bad luck today. But when it comes down to it with the batting, the pieces were there for you, weren't they? Because, listen, Jason Roy got in. It was brilliant to see him play so well the other night. He got in again tonight, 46. It wasn't easy. But for you to post that total, you need one of your top three, don't you, to keep going on and getting that score to 70 or 80 and put a nice little score on the board.
Absolutely. I think the foundations of everything that we laid with the batters and establishing partnerships, getting themselves in, and then taking on the big shot, were always there tonight. We lacked a bit in kicking on. And I think you have to give credit to Indian bowlers, the way that they used their slower balls. They were accurate. They managed to get some purchase off the wicket as well. So they did that better than we did tonight, and probably hit a length when they wanted to, which made it difficult for us.
Owen, a lot of listeners who maybe don't follow the Indian Premier League may not be familiar with Ishan Kishan, but we've just been speaking about him. You, of course, would have come up against him many, many times. What difference does it bring for a debutant to take to the field in front of 70,000 when, of course, he's been doing the same thing, playing for his franchise team for the last 5 years?
Oh, it makes a huge difference. I think it bridges the gap between domestic cricket and international cricket, and the IPL continue to produce young players coming through on a treadmill with this attitude of being able to take on any side in the world, particularly at home, in conditions that might be perceived to be pressure situations. So the way he played today, he's a fantastic talent. Anybody who has watched him play before would have watched them do that a lot at the IPL. So, they have a huge amount of depth, India. I've always said that. They probably will have some selection issues moving forward, as does any good team around the world.
Well, that was what I was about to ask, actually. I mean, panic stations doesn't really seem to be the order of the day when you're captaining any side. 1-1 with 3 to play. I suppose being tested in this situation is exactly the kind of thing that you want to experience now for this series which holds great relevance, of course, but also with the World T20 in mind later in the year.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you've said. We want to be challenged. We want to be taken out of our comfort zone. If that means losing and learning the hard way, so be it. And the next game that we play is on another side of the wicket where there's a different type of clay, which normally means the ball turns a little bit more. So again, that's going to be a really good challenge come the next couple of games. And from there, we need to continue experiencing this. We can't learn anything by not playing on these surfaces. We need to learn more about us as a team. So when it comes to the World Cup in 7 months' time, we're as best prepared as we can be.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, we'll await with interest to see what your team selection will be for the third T20 and how things go throughout this series. But that's the captain, the England captain, Owen Morgan, joining us on Talk Sport 2. Final words from the likes of Gareth Batty, Darren Goff and Steve Harmison. So expecting more turn for the third T20. Soil reminiscent of Uluru. According to the England captain, Owen Morgan. Bats, just give you the chance for Moeen Ali to come back into the side, possibly.
Yeah, I think he has to. If there's a chance of it turning, you've got to have more spin options. And with Joe Root not being in this squad, so he's not available to jump in and bat at 3 and give you another option, then he just has to slide in. He has to play for me. India nearly always have two options, even on the flatter surfaces that we've seen in the first two. So definitely, as soon as it starts to offer something, they have to get the ability to bowl 8 overs of spinning.
I think the way I look at it as well is, but Sam Curran, I think Chris Jordan, Tom Curran, and even Ben Stokes to a certain extent are all the same. And I think you've got to get Moeen Ali into it. If we're not going to play Joe Root, he's rested for this series. It's cold rest. But if he's not going to play, we need somehow to get Moeen Ali into the side for one of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's not panic stations nowhere near. I think this England side are a very, very formidable side. They've got 13 or 14 fantastic world-class players at this. They know their game. It is quite tough when it's on the toss. But yes, Moeen Ali comes into the next game, and if Owen Morgan wins the toss, it could be a game like it was on game day 1, where England were absolutely brilliant. So I think it's great for England, like Owen Morgan says. England have played some good cricket over 2 games. 1-1 in the series. I think it's set up for a fascinating finish, and for the quality involved in it, it's going to be an absolute brilliant to listen to or watch.